Good morning again, ladies and gentlemen. Peter Racy here, Foundation Expo 88 YouTube channel. And this is the second set of interviews in the series of the Lawrie Smith, John Oxley papers. Good morning, Lawrie.
Good morning. How are you, Peter?
I'm really well. And this morning's topic is the Epiphyte forest. And Lawrie, as a previous series, has given me a notated sheet, and this time around I'm probably actually going to follow it along a little bit more precisely than what people saw in the previous series. And Lawrie, I mean, there were two, I think personally, amazing little bits of Expo 88, and one of them is still in existence, which is the Art of Central Australia, which John Truscott curated, which is sitting in the G20 room of the Convention Centre. And the second one is the Epiphyte forest, and unfortunately there is no parts of that in existence, which is just a criminal shame in hindsight. And there's not even the real concept of it. Even in Roma Street Parkland, it's not really reproduced, even in the slightest bit, I don't think. Not that I can recall. And I mean, you obviously put a lot of thought into this, because a rainforest, takes millions of years to create? And so how long did you give yourself to actually create this?
Well, right, almost from day one in 1983, when we started developing up the different precinct concepts and so on. And of course, this was really the premier one, if you like, on the Expo site, because it was surrounding the Queensland Pavilion, and it was a very important node in the whole circulation system, because the main parade route went through it, the monorail went through it, there were two or three other circulation ways that all concentrated from that point. And of course, it was the queuing space for people to go into the Queensland Pavilion. So I think that I wanted to say, what is the thing that it most typifies the Queensland environment for many people? And probably it's rainforest now. And the rainforest extends right up the east coast in little pockets here, there and everywhere. And once extensive, millennia ago, an extensive coverage of much of the subtropical and tropical areas. So, as you said before, yes, well, how do you recreate a rainforest? That was the idea that I wanted to bring to people's understanding, that, the beauties of rainforests. So, okay, thinking about it, I thought, well, the thing that is most obvious when you walk into a rainforest are the tree trunks that soar above you and around you. And they're all covered with orchids and vines and epiphytes and ferns and all sorts of wonderful life forms. And so I thought, well, that's what we've got to do it. Now, nature takes 1 million years or so to do that, but I only had 3-4 years. And so that's how the concept evolved. And to create this impression of walking through a rainforest and seeing the thing that is most dominant to anybody as they walk into a rainforest are those tree trunks that are just clothed in green.
But your vision started out at 10, 12, and then all of a sudden it suffered a major event called Truscott, and then it sort of blew out.
Yeah, great, yeah. No, look, that was fantastic. I mean, when John arrived, several years after we started work on it all, this was one of the things that he looked at, and he said, that is fantastic, those 10 or 12 poles that you had there, but we're going to get some funds to that to increase it substantially, and he did. And so out of whatever budget, had enough to turn that into 60 poles, up to 16 metres high, to really create a rainforest experience that was sort of really world-shattering in many ways, because it had never been done before in this way. And the important thing was that with most of the things that that we tried to do with Expo was to use the theme of the Expo, which was leisure in the age of technology. So I wanted to use technology to assist us to make the epiphyte forest as we all enjoyed it. And so that was the important thing. And it allowed us to take advantage of that large precinct all around the Queensland Pavilion there to create that wonderful element. And it wasn't just the epiphyte forest poles. There were other things in it as well. There was a big free flight aviary that we built in the centre section of it there, just as you queued to go into the pavilion. And I have to admit that initially, when this was proposed, there was some consternation from various sources by saying that it's not fair to bring in native rainforest birds into the middle of an international exposition. They'll just die, and that'll just be cruel. But that wasn't the case, because they thrived in there. In fact, the bowerbirds that we had in there built their bowers, and we used to decorate, give them things in blue, and they'd decorate their bowers, and they raised a couple of families, and other birds did the same. So they enjoyed being part of Expo, and it was one of those important elements. And then, of course, with the forest as well, it was a daytime experience. As you can see behind me, a wonderful experience in those light conditions, but at night it was transformed by the magic lighting and all of the abilities that we had to do with fogging and misting, and we had projectors at the top of many of the epiphyte poles projecting on the sun sails above it their images of the rainforest canopy, and so that really created an overall environment of being in the middle of a rainforest. And you're walking through the precinct. We had artists paint up this incredible pattern of the rainforest floor. It was an abstract pattern, really interesting, using all the tones and textures and forms that you see on the floor of a rainforest. So it wasn't just a bit of paving. It was an artwork that you walked. And so, floor, roof above, the sun sails, the epiphyte poles themselves created this all-enveloping characteristic of a rainforest.
I mean, absolutely great summary. And what we might do there, Lawrie, is just break off, because I think that is a suitable package. And ladies and gentlemen, we'll just come back in a little while, and we're really going to hone down on the topic of green walls and world first technology. It should be an amazing chapter in this series. Thank you so much.